One of my favorite proverbs is a proverb, every cloud has its silver lining. In 1984, I was a student. I was doing my graduate studies in the Soviet Union, in Moscow. And together with my peers, I was going to travel to Hungary in order to spend half a year at ELTE, studying Hungarian. Hungarian language and literature was my major. And imagine, a few weeks before my trip, I was informed that I could not go there for certain reasons. This was in the letter. I got extremely angry. I got extremely disappointed. I felt that just like the whole world was crashing me. But life went on. A few weeks later, I went to disco together with my friends, some guys from Hungary. We were dancing, and suddenly a girl came to me. She told me that she had just got back from Hungary, from Baksh, from the nuclear power plants. She had been working there as an interpreter and translator, and she told me that they desperately needed interpreters and translators there. She gave me a telephone number of a very important person in the Ministry of Energy. And one day later, I called that person, and I told her that I had met Shadia, and she had given me her telephone number. Do you still need interpreters and translators? Yes, we do. About 9 months later, I was in Baksh. I was working as an interpreter and translator. If 1 year earlier, I would have got a permission to travel to Budapest to ELTE, 1 year later, I wouldn't have been able to start working in Baksh. So I would have never met my future husband, and I would have never met the father of my daughter Veronica, who has already showed up here. This proverb, every cloud has its silver lining, frequently comes to my mind. When you feel that what you desire for, what you want for, what you have expected doesn't come, you might feel angry, sad, frustrated. But after a while, what might happen, you might see that wonders never cease, and you might see that something fantastic happens, even if earlier you had some problems, some pain, and maybe you suffered a lot. And I will tell you now one more story. In October, a very famous coach wrote to me a letter, and he invited me to take part in his workshop in Italy. I just imagine this coach, 10 or 20 people taking part in this workshop, 20 kilometers away from Assisi, this wonderful hills, Italian wine, and you talk to fantastic people there, and you work on self-development, self-improvement. And since I'm not self-employed, since I have a boss and I work for a state university, immediately I wrote a letter to the head of my department. I asked her for permission. And in a few hours' time, she wrote to me, no. I got so angry. Angry was not really a good word. I got so furious. I just thought that if I, a professor, cannot take off a couple of days to go to the workshop, I do not want to work for such a university. So immediately I called a couple of my friends who work as deans or as heads of institutes, and I wrote to them. Also, I sent them my CV, updated CV. One day later, I started thinking, you're not a small girl who doesn't get a toy or who doesn't get a piece of cake. Since I have a degree in coaching and in psychology, I started self-coaching myself. And after a while, I realized that I have the most fantastic boss. I have the most fantastic workplace. I don't want to look for another one. And I just thought, maybe the universe has some better plans for me. And maybe there is another workshop for me, which I could take part in. And a few weeks later, this workshop came. I just realized, I learned that my favorite psychologist is going to have a workshop, an 8-day workshop in January in the Maldives. Wow, me and the Maldives. I would have never traveled there. Just for me to imagine you lie on the beach there. But it's very different if you travel there and if you are involved in this project together with about 40 other people from different countries, including US, including Germany, and so on. And my favorite psychologist was there in the Maldives. For the last maybe 10 years, I had been listening to her lectures, to her seminars, to her programs. So I decided that yes, I will go there. Last week, 1 week ago, I got back from that workshop, and it was just fantastic. If my boss had allowed me to go to Italy to the workshop of Leonid Krol in October, I wouldn't have had any money to travel to Maldives in January. If in October I would have known about that workshop in the Maldives, I would have said, there, every cloud has a silver lining. Last week I even sent a message to the head of my department. I wrote to her how grateful, in fact, I was to her that she didn't give me the permission in October. If I think about numerous other cases, I can give you plenty of them, but we do not have time for this. Let me just give you one more last case. If the pandemic hadn't happened 2.5 years ago, I wouldn't have written a letter to William out of blue. I wouldn't have offered to William that we record a Skype interview or a Zoom interview. Furthermore, I wouldn't be standing here and I wouldn't be delivering this speech. Every cloud has a silver lining. We just need to be patient, optimistic, and wise.